Welcome to Health a Second Opinion. Dr. Chad McDill here with you. Excited about yet another week of getting to expand our conversation and our knowledge of how to obtain what we want, which hopefully is health. If you're tuning into this show, hopefully that's your intention. And one of the reason this is why your doctor's intention really matters is because so many people want health, but they're not really aligned with their doctor's intentions of what health is. And they don't really share a similarity in a view of the intention. And so what is intention? Your intention is literally your aim, your objective, what you are trying to achieve. And unfortunately, here in the United States, we see so many people misguided with, or I guess more misunderstood would be a better word. Pardon me as I try to get things opened up here for questions. So the intentions, our aim, our objective, we want health, and we all say that we value our health and that it is important and that it affects every other aspect of our lives. I think we can most all agree on that. But the thought is, of course, what is health? Unfortunately, in AKA healthcare, it's a misguided conception that the removal of symptoms or the absence of symptoms means that a person is well. The fact that they don't have an active, diagnosable, treatable disease would mean that they are healthy. AKA, I feel good, I look good, I must be healthy. We understand the flaw in that. We see so many people who felt good and dropped dead of a heart attack or go in and find out they have cancer. And so we know, just like a cavity that is not painful yet, developing and growing is the problem. But yet, in healthcare, we assume that the removal of symptoms is that they're healthy. And so when we think about things, it's whether it's gallstones or whether it's cancer, whether it's heart disease or diabetes. We look at the major killers: cancer, heart disease, diabetes. They've all been getting worse through the decades, despite the billions of dollars we've thrown at fighting them. Whether it's COVID, whether it's, doesn't matter. The question becomes, why aren't they getting better? And then, what do you really want? Because people wrongly brought down this assumption, and they're assuming that treatment of disease and the removal of the symptom is making them healthy. And so they go on doing the same thing. And so this is why the cancer always comes back. The heart disease continues to get worse despite the treatment. So the treatment is, I give you blood pressure, not me, I would never do that. I don't practice medicine, but if medicine was being practiced on a patient, they would say, okay, let's get rid of the symptom. High blood pressure and high cholesterol equals heart disease. We will minimize those with these medicines, and therefore you go along life believing that you are well. Diabetes, metformin, whatever, insulin, blood sugars lower, you go along with your same health practices and continue to get worse despite the treatment. But see, the actual aim, the intention, isn't really healthcare. That's why I call it AKA. It's really sick care, because the aim of that doctor is actually being met. It's just not getting you what you want, which is your health. The aim of the doctor is the removal of symptoms. That's the treatment. So as long as the blood pressure's down and the cholesterol's down, the goal's met. We've won. And you continue to be sick, because the definition of health is literally the 100% function: spiritual, physical, chemical, emotional, not the absence of disease or infirmity. So when we look at this, I mean, you can look it up. Dorland's Medical Dictionary. Please do. Always check. The facts are that health is determined by a state of optimum function, everything being close to 100%. So back to our analysis. We have the cancer treatment, okay, or the gallbladder removal. Number one, for a person to be at 100%, they need all their organs. So once an organ's removed, they'll never be actually healthy or whole again. And so, but the cancer's gone, the tumor may be gone. And I'm not saying that sometimes that's not necessary. Reducing a tumor load, or maybe something is gangrenous and is already has reached its limitation of matter. But yet, that is not the goal for you, the patient. Your intention, I'm assuming, is that you would like to be healthy. But yet, a couple things have been missed already. A, health was never defined for you. You might be hearing it for the first time today. And then, the real definition anyway. And then, after that, you were equated with that if I remove the symptom, then I'm back to healthy, and you get what you want. You get the removal of the symptom. But yet, the pathway of your life that brought you to this problem is never addressed. And therefore, that's again why the cancer, the gallbladder disease, the diabetes, everyone has this assumption that they have to get worse. And it's not because that's true. It's because most people aren't getting the actual health care that reverses the cause. Therefore, most people get worse. So by de facto, kind of, we assume that that means that's what happens for everyone. But it's not. The reality is that people just aren't getting health care. They're getting symptom removal and sickness care. And therefore, the doctor's intention is right on. They're doing their job. They're removing the symptom. But you want health. And so your intentions aren't aligned with your doctor. And if your intentions aren't aligned with your doctor, then both of you are aiming at two totally different objectives. So of course, people continue to get worse. Does that make sense? I mean, when we really stop and think about it, if we're never aiming, I mean, if two of us are aiming at at different targets, we can't compare how accurate we are. You know, we know that when I'm training my son with his BB gun, right? So it makes sense. But in healthcare, we have to stop and think about what we want. So when we look at this, the intention, we want to get back to defining that we want 100% function. We want to be healthy. So we have to establish that definition, which we're doing right here. And the question always stops. The question becomes, if now you can understand, to bring this kind of full circle, that your intentions aren't aligned with your doctor, the question becomes, where do you find a doctor that is aligned with your intentions? Well, the fact is that you need a max living chiropractor, because we are really the only group of individuals who are delivering real health care. We are trying to help people understand the real definition of health and then address what aspects of their lives are actually robbing them of their health potential. And, you know, if we want health, we have to get in alignment with those principles. And the only people who are teaching this on a regular basis and providing the model to which you can implement for any man, woman, and child at any age is max living chiropractors. And so that's why we're one of the fastest growing groups of healthcare providers in the world today. And every day that goes by, that more people awaken to this knowledge of the fact that their intentions are not aligned with their current doctor, they need us. And if you don't have that person in your life, if you're not already a patient in my life or you're viewing this somewhere else, then you need to go to maxliving.com and Google or look that up and then say Max Living near me. Find the nearest doctor, travel 2, 3, 4, 6 hours. It will be worth it to get in alignment so that you understand what's missing. and to understand what's missing, and to get your aim dialed back in. One of the biggest things that we have to address is what's actually causing your body to not function properly. Pardon me. Grab a drink of water. It's one of the things that's essential to life, right? So now that we've established that our intentions are what is the main askew, your current doctor, most likely, isn't aiming at the same objective that you want, and therefore you need a new doctor. Number two, we need to understand how we produce that health. And the first thing is that it's not something that can be given to you. It is something that you already possess. It is something that is just simply being interfered with. You are not being able to manifest your potential. Every one of us, you can use your own language. I use my views, are born with this soul. God gives us this soul that animates and is the difference that is immeasurable between us living and us the moment after death. The corpse is still there. What was animating it is our life force, and that is our innate intelligence. This is called the triune of life. And when we look at the triune of life, it's super simple, so basic that it actually becomes an aha moment that I wish I had taught more often to more people throughout my career, because more people would already have their health. But when we want to get the body back to 100% function, we have to understand how the body really works. And so when we look at this, it's this triune of our innate intelligence. It unifies the body with innate force to connect our matter so that our matter can communicate back with our innate intelligence. And it's this circle, right? The triune. And so when we look at this, literally, if there's a breakdown, and most of the time, the breakdown is in the matter, because your innate intelligence is born as 100% of the time. It's always there. It's always trying to make the right choices with whatever environment you put the matter in. The intention, the force that connects all of this is the nervous system. And that's why max living and chiropractic is so important and integral, and it actually is the unifying principle behind healthcare. Is that the connection, the regulation, the coordination of all organ function and every emotion and every gland, every hormone, everything is all coordinated through the brain and through the nervous system. So if there's a breakdown in the communication between the innate intelligence and the force connecting to the matter, then the communication's lost. The cell phone, that comparison I use all the time. Cell phone's great, love it, but if it doesn't have service, it really stinks. Doesn't work right. It's still the same cell phone. It's just not connected. So if your body, the stuff that we're made of, right? We think of it as like, well, fat, muscle, spleen, kidney, if you go a little deeper. But in all reality, it's different things like phospholipids and calcium and magnesium and carbon and different small atoms that are literally recreated and remade from the stuff you feed it. And so that's why in Max Living we help people with nutrition, because what you give your body, your innate intelligence, you think you're feeding the matter, but what you're doing is you're giving your innate intelligence the choices that it has to choose from of what it's going to use the force to recreate the matter, what it has to build out of. And so when you're building ask an architect. If they're building a building, they're going to build it out of concrete and rebar and steel and stuff are the things that support weight. And they would never think of using glass to build the support system of a building. And it's not that they don't like glass. They'll use the glass for the windows, right? Because that's what it's good at. It's not inherently strong, so it doesn't do sport, but it is translucent or transparent. So there you go. It has a purpose. But yet we feed ourselves based on what our cravings and what tastes good and all these other things instead of eating to live, we live to eat. And so in Max Living, we want to help people understand what real food does for you, where to get it, what are the best sources, and then how to prepare it. And so we give ourselves the matter, the atoms that our body absorbs to recreate the living person, the building blocks, the stuff, so that it can be healthier and have the communication through the central nervous system, the sympathetic, or I should say the sensory nerves, sensory nerves signaling back to the innate intelligence. And then this innate loop going back and forth. And these two are 100% of the time. The thing that breaks down is us. And the thing that breaks us down is a breakdown in communication, number one. Number two is the actual stuff being junk. And we can't recreate ourselves well because our bodies don't have the proper nutrition, or we have no delivery system. People today often are very unexercised. Their cardiovascular system, the delivery system of oxygen and nutrition to all of the parts, the stuff, our organs that are being connected and controlled by our nervous system, the glands that are producing the chemicals, our endocrine system, our immune systems. They're all being made out of and replaced with, on a regeneration schedule, a healing schedule, with the stuff that we fed it, but it's delivered by the cardiovascular system. So we got to train that. We got to keep it healthy and open and ready to deliver to all parts of the body. And gosh, we see the breakdowns in diabetes, right? Really the greatest, one of the destructor of the, so high sugar. And I hope we back that down, that sugar is a real bad thing in excess that destroys our bodies, causes cardiovascular disease and cancer and all of these things. And so when we have those systems working, and then we align ourselves with removing the toxins that are a breakdown in that, right? Because if we step back and say, wait, I'm now aligned with the principle that I want health. I don't want just to be feel good. I don't want to be symptom free, because some symptoms are really good, right? You know, if you have food poisoning, you want vomiting, you want diarrhea, you want to get rid of the poison so that your body has less to deal with. They're not fun. No good. Don't feel good. The symptom doesn't feel good, but the symptom is actually producing a good result. So sometimes that's why it's so hard to know if a symptom's good or bad. It might not feel good, but like back pain, it's an alarm that says, quit doing that, and finds what's causing it. Don't take a drug to cover me up or I'll get worse, right? It makes sense when we stop and think about it. So back to this, we remove the toxicities, because really a breakdown in the recreation of the matter comes from a toxicity, a deficiency, or a breakdown in the communication, the control. Those are the options: a toxicity, a deficiency, or a breakdown in that regeneration. And so the communication, the coordination of how that unifying principle of how our innate intelligence, force, and matter create this triune of life. And so when we get together with that, and we've started back where we actually started talking about the innate ability to heal and our intention. So the question really becomes, are your intentions in alignment with your doctor's intentions? Because your intentions are your goal, your aim, your objective. What you really want for most people is a better life. You want better health. You want more energy. You might define it under any of these terms. I want to be able to play with my kids more. I want to get home. I want to get done with my day. I want to feel open. I don't want to feel overwhelmed. I want hope. I want the faith that what I'm doing is working right. But most commonly, that's always framed with this, it doesn't really work. And it's not that it doesn't work, it's that no one's actually doing it. They're not actually practicing healthcare. Because the aim of the typical doctor is the removal of symptoms to a national average. To which, where do you fit in the national average? You know, for me, I'm 6 feet tall. So where do I fit in the national average? Where should my blood pressure be at any given time? Where should my, the questions are there, and everyone's an individual. But yet the removal of symptoms and the bringing things into certain parameters is a good way to maybe keep you from dying. But it's not a good way to keep you living. Two totally different concepts. Is your intention 100% function? 100% life? Are you living in this way and practicing your health care in a way that removes the causes of your body's breakdown and its regeneration, growing, replenishing? And so if not, then it's complicated even more so by that relationship with the person who is directing your information. Gigo, right? We all know that about our computers. Garbage in, garbage out. And that applies to me a lot of times with computers. And the fact is that when the garbage is coming in from an information standpoint or a nutrition standpoint or a toxicity standpoint, there's a greater demand on you to be able to sift through that to get to what you actually need. So when the intentions of your doctor aren't producing health, they're symptom relief, management, and that's how they equate, that's how they define health, but that's not the definition of health. They're doing their job. And sometimes in an emergency situation, that's all of our alignment, right? We're all aligned with, I just want to live in this emergency situation. And granted, a lot of people live in from one emergency to the next. But yet, if we want health, we have to really think about aligning ourselves with our intention, our objective, our aim, being the production of more health. And the only way to do that is to remove interference to the triune of life, so that your soul, your innate intelligence, that which animates you, can use the force, your nervous system, to control and coordinate all the other aspects of your matter. But it really, really, really is all coming from the platform of intention. So, again, if you don't have your doctor in your life, if your children don't have their doctor, if your grandparents, your church doesn't have someone in their lives that's helping align them with the removal of chemical, physical, and emotional interference to their lives so that their bodies can reanimate and regenerate themselves properly, then they're never going to have health. They might be symptom-free. Their blood pressure might be normal. They might have normal blood sugar, but they're still eating donuts, and they're not exercising right, and they're still eating cheeseburgers. And I use this regularly. This is McDonald's, 4 years old. It's been sitting here. Those are French fries. Those are 2 buns. One's actually 3 years old, one's 4. So if that's what you're giving your body to build out of, man, I'm sorry. This is not going to rebuild itself. It's not because your innate intelligence, your life force isn't good enough. And it's not because the force that connects the two isn't good enough. It's the fact that it's there, but there's a breakdown, especially if you've never been checked by a chiropractor who's looking for the cause of dysfunction called subluxation. If you're not having the breakdown removed, getting adjusted, if you don't understand that the breakdown in that communication between your brain and your body could be robbing you of all potential to recreate the matter properly, well then, again, there's a breakdown in the intention, because no one can be properly healthy or 100% healthy unless their nervous system is controlling the rest of the organs, glands, and tissues and systems at 100%. So that's why everyone needs an ML doc in their quiver of people who will help them reach real health through removing that cause of chemical, physical, and emotional stress so that we can express life to its fullest. So I hope that this helps you clarify why you might not be experiencing life to your potential, why you don't have hope and faith is based on the fact that no one's really practicing healthcare in and around you or for anyone you know, unless they're a patient here, this office or another Max Living office. And so you're not seeing results. So of course you believe it's not possible. But the practice of healthcare today isn't really healthcare, it's sick care, unless you're a part of a Max Living office. So my hope and intention and thoughts and prayers for you and your family is that you get on board with what you really want, and that's health and a more vibrant life, and that you are able to find someone near you, if it's not here in the tri-state area, that there is someone available within, let's say, a 12-hour drive that you could go to regularly make sure that you are getting real health care. Have a blessed day. We'll see you back here on Health Second Opinion next week.